And if you thought that you were going to get away today without hearing about Tim Pool from me, oh, you are so wrong. And it pains me. It pains me to become one of those YouTube channels that hyper focuses in on one celebrity or somebody like that, where every single day you see some mention of them in the titling of at least one of the videos on the channel. But I will say that Tim Pool's content makes up a lot of what I would, consume throughout the day traditionally, not lately, because of everything that's been going on here. But not only that aspect of it, there's just a lot of meat. Like, there's a lot of substance to this story because there's so many layers to it. And there's a lot of confusion, a lot of misinformation, because there are people who are coming in every other day to this situation, and they're chalking it up to jealousy or anger or pettiness. And there's some of all of that in there. That is why I am really unabashedly continuously making videos on this, because there's actually enough substance to this drama to warrant making so many videos about this. And for specific person who commented on my video yesterday that I made speaking about the situation, they were like, this guy, where I talked about them blocking the quartering, or Tim blocking the quartering. They were like, you didn't really give much new information or anything like that. I'll be honest with you. I was on a time crunch because I have a real job, a real life that I make money on, so I can give you guys the middle finger every time that you try and tell me what I should or shouldn't do. I actually make a real money with an actual salary. So I can tell all you guys to go to hell every single day, and it's awesome. But that's not the point of this video. I am going to actually take the time to break down my perspective. This is my perspective of where we are at up to date with this situation. And I've already made a few videos where I've talked about it at every stage with the information that we've learned. So if you're coming into this at this video, I'm not one of those dudes who's like, go subscribe, check out, does all the callbacks to my old videos. But if you really want as much information as you can from a person and you like the way that I talk about things, then go watch my old videos. All of them will have Eliza Bleu's name in the title if they have anything to do with her. So you can just go through and also have a picture of her more than likely in the thing. You can go watch them is all I'm saying. It's easy to get caught up here. But I'm even going to give a recap of where I was at from the beginning, because so much has changed since now. And yeah, so here, let me start. I'm going to start from where we're at now, and then I'll backtrack and then fill the space in between, right? All right. So last night, Tim Pool, everybody keeps calling it a meltdown. That's a very dramatic statement to call it, because if you know how Tim Pool is, like when he's actually upset or something like that, trust me, there is no calm nature to him. When he has a meltdown, he will actually be screaming. He'll turn red. There'll be veins popping out here and here beneath the beanie, and he'll do his little growly, where his little teeth, and I'm not one to talk about teeth either. I have improvements to be made on my mouth as well, but they're all poking out and he's fizzling. He looks like an angry little pug, just too hyped up. But I'm saying all that to say that, I wouldn't say it was a meltdown level, but I will say it was a point where his aggression or his upsettedness with the situation did get the best of him. And he kind of snapped on a few of his supporters who were sending chats talking about how they were unsubscribing from his from his channel, how they were, disappointed that he decided to ignore all this, calling him every, thing under the sun, basically saying that he's beholden to the whims of these people, just like everybody that he, complains about. People like CNN, let's say, who don't want to talk about the actual news because of who their relationships involve and who pays them for advertising and things like that, right? Okay. Well, he goes and he takes the people who are claiming that they're unsubscribing and canceling their subscriptions, and he accuses them of being liars or robots or just fake people sent over as a PR stunt by Eliza Bleu's team in order to gain traction through his chat, like his media avenues, and of course the drama that's been taking place on the internet. I want to full stop right here and say that may be true to a very small degree. I don't put anything that he was saying past Eliza Bleu, based off of what we know about her. She could be doing that. PR firms are known to do that. My media training comes from the realm of hip hop, where stuff like what he describes happen all the time. Fake beef, fake stories of human trafficking and drug deals and gang banging and murders and everything. Dudes lie about everything because any press is good press, or you know the saying that I'm trying to say. So I will go there and I will concede that that is probably true to a certain level. Now, let's go into the meat and potatoes of this. Let's check this flesh. Hey, look. Whoa, that's real flesh. I'm a human. I'm not a robot. Oh, wow. Dude, I almost forgot. Tim almost had me fooled. I thought I was a robot because he said so. But wait, I am a real person. And I am one of the people who is in the comment section listing my complaints about his not talking about it, listing my complaints about his silence on the situation. And guess what? I'm also not promoting the quartering when I'm doing it because I don't care about the quartering at all. I'm thankful for the information that the quartering has presented in this regard, and whenever he does offer useful information. But Jeremy from the quartering is a nerd. Jeremy from the quartering is jealous of Tim Pool. It's unarguable. I didn't say that with a question. I didn't say I believe. I said Jeremy from the quartering is jealous of Tim Pool. You can tell it. I'm an intuitive person. It's very easy to realize. And you know what? Jealousy and aspiring to be somebody or feeling like they don't deserve the position is not something I'm going to worry about because I don't operate like that in my own brain and in my heart. But Jeremy would be lying if he said that he doesn't feel like he would at least want to be in Tim Pool's position and would be, even if it meant that Tim Pool would be removed from his position so he could get there. That's just my thoughts on that. I'll leave it where it lays. But I was not in the comment section. I don't have these criticisms because of the quartering. I don't care about that. I don't dislike Tim. I don't want him to lose his platform from the good that comes from Timcast IRL. I think that excellent information is provided, and I would love to see it grow and get better. It cannot do that without transparency. It cannot do that without an understanding of the value that it provides to the space that it's in. This was a clear signal that they don't understand, that Tim does not fully understand where he's at and who his audience is. To sit there and accuse anybody who is in there complaining of being a bot, like he didn't say, oh, there are genuine issues mixed in with these gripes. He didn't say any of that. And from that aspect, I understand him saying that he lost it. Like going the accusatory route, telling people to get the F off of your channel and buy and tell them to cancel today and that you won't care. It's no skin off your nose and that you're gaining traction. It wasn't the way to go about that. Even if it's true, I'm not talking about the chat robots. That's not true because like I said, real flesh here, real human. But yeah, even if it's true that he's gaining more subscribers or anything like that, that doesn't matter. You're going through drama right now. People are hearing your name for the first time that maybe never have. Just like they did during the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, which is when I happened to come upon you and follow your channel. And one of the most impressive things that I saw about Tim Pool, the thing that made me come to his channel initially in the first place, was, of course, the Joe Rogan podcast with Twitter execs Jack Dorsey and Vijaya Gadde. And one thing that drew me to this man was his drilling down for the want of free speech, questioning why people are being blocked, why stories are being suppressed. That is his claim to fame. That is why people enjoy Tim Pool. It's not his personality. Most people in his comment section, most people I see that consume his media do not like him as a person. And that's fine. As men, the value that we serve or the value that we offer to the world is not being a happy-go-lucky, super friendly do. We're not dogs, okay? We're workers. We fulfill a purpose. And Tim fulfills his purpose, does fulfill his purpose when he is performing to the best of his abilities. That is why the suppression of this story has caught so many people off guard, because it seemed like such an insignificant thing in the Timcast universe, meaning Eliza Bleu is a nobody by their measure. She's not a politician. She's barely a media personality. She's barely who she even says she is. So it really shouldn't matter. It should have been very easy for Tim Pool to be like, wow, well, all that turned out very strange. And then it would have been a one-day event and we wouldn't even done anything about it. The behaviors that came from it are what is weird. The behaviors that came from all of it are what is weird. And yes, there are so many different aspects of it that are coincidentally questionable, right? So now I'll take the time to go back from the beginning because I kind of explained where we're at with it, really. Originally, this all started from Eliza Bleu was somebody who I saw on Twitter because Elon Musk kept commenting on things. And you know how it is on the Twitter now. Whenever people comment on somebody else's stuff and they're super popular, it'll show on your feed whether you follow them or not. I've never followed Eliza Bleu, always saw her tweets ever since almost the first day that I made my Twitter account back in like November or whatever it was, right? All over the place. I could tell she was a funny weirdo from that. She gave IG OnlyFans model vibes from the very beginning, right? But for some reason was talking about like right-wing issues and stuff. Seemed grifty is what I will say. Seemed grifty, but who cares? Everybody's got their own right to feel and look how they are. Look, I look how I am, right? And if I start talking about a bunch of conservative stuff or what I personally believe in and it's resonating with a different crowd of people and they come over here, people are going to accuse me of being grifty if I tell you that I do other things that don't fit that narrative. So that's fine. I know I don't look like the average person who talks about things that I do. That's cool. You can look however you want to and you can believe whatever you want as long as you're willing to stick up for what you believe in. So that's not my point. That's why I really paid it no mind. Then the situation happens where she actually comes on Timcast and is talking. And this is the second time. I never saw the first one. Remember, I'm only explaining my perspective. Where she's talking about the Andrew Tate situation and gives a little bit of information about her personal background. And it really looked a little weird to me. It was like, wow, she really is calling for a lot of things to be done for Andrew Tate before we have hard evidence. She's striking me as one of those Me Too, believe all women before they even can prove anything, regardless of what their stance is type. And well, here we are. But that's just the impression that I got from that podcast. And I honestly, at that point, felt like Timcast did a decent job of pressing the issue with her while maintaining respect and decorum with a guest who they invited on their show. Could they have gone a little bit harder? Yes, they could have, and still maintain that same decorum that I said. But I thought they didn't do a bad job. Let's say it like that. I don't think that they did a bad job. Okay? So, after that situation happens, then comes the posts online, like Jeremy from the Quartering. So I am watching Jeremy from the Quartering's videos every now and then. Not a subscribed person, but he pops up from my suggestions from watching things like Timcast, Steven Crowder, all this stuff like that. See him, mentioned in the mix of all of this stuff. So I've seen a few of his videos and he offers very good information a lot of the time. Another person where, regardless of what I think about his appearance or his personality or his Wisconsin accent, I think he's a net positive to the space. So congrats to you, the Quartering, for being who you are. He starts bringing up these, articles talking about this girl not being who she may think that she is. Once again, I'm not trying to rob any fame from Brittany Venti. I don't know her, don't know who she is, don't follow her. I got the information from Jeremy. He gives all of his credit up to Brittany Venti as being the, the pioneer of this story. So, cool. She ends up getting blocked off of Twitter for sharing a screenshot of Eliza Bleu's World Star Hip Hop video where she's dancing around like some weird thought in the desert with caterpillar boots on. It's awkward and it's so cringy to me. It's not hot at all. But anyways, she posted a screenshot of that, something that was still publicly shared and owned by World Star Hip Hop, mind you, we come to find out later. Well, it's still on their channel. Screenshot it, post it on Twitter. Her Twitter account gets suspended because it's sharing harmful, blah, 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 personal information, which is a lie. So Jeremy from the Quartering is like, well, I can't believe that that this happened, trying to draw attention to Elon Musk. So he actually shares the post and posts a picture himself saying, well, if she's going to get suspended, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll stand in solidarity with her, which I respect. But when I looked at it, I was like, dude, who cares about any of this stuff, man? And watched them go away, and I was just like, okay, well, that's their Twitter spaces. That's their Twitter accounts paused temporarily. But I was watching Jeremy's videos to kind of stay up to date on what it is that what it is going on from his side, while he kind of explains everything. And that's when stuff really starts to build, right? Because he's talking about why he can't believe why other sites are not talking about it. And I will admit, at this time, it did get a little weird to me because all this stuff happened very publicly. There's no way that Tim didn't know it was happening. This is right up Tim Pool's alley for things that he usually talks about. There's no one who tells anybody what they have to talk about. And there are, at any given time, are a million different news stories going on. There are 50,000 different news stories that I could be talking about right now, but I'm still talking about this stuff. Take your pick. But no, just off the strength of the relationship that they seemingly had, the Quartering and Tim cast, it should have gone differently, I think, between them. And then also, Tim should have cared about this situation in general, even if it happened to strangers who he didn't know at all, because of what was going on with Twitter, talking about how we don't think, like, Elon Musk is moving according to his own whim. The people who may still be working behind the scenes, like secret double agents who are still on Elon's team, who are still basically moving with the left in accordance to them, taking orders from the FBI or whoever, There's so much distrust and misinformation and just effery going on with Twitter right now that it seems to fit perfectly into that narrative, like that universe of what he was discussing. And there were some familiar characters in the story. Not to mention, like, the Quarter and everything, but Eliza Bleu, somebody who you had just had on your show. That even raised the flag of these suspicions in the first place from the things that she said. It's complete, there's no reason why he should not have spoken about it, besides him specifically trying to avoid talking like there's anybody. Like, at this point, if you were at this point in the video and you've heard every word that I've said at this point, if you can say in the comment section how logically, after all of that, it made sense that he didn't respond or even make mention of what was going on, please let me know. Please give me some rationale of what I am missing. I'm not an unreasonable guy. I can change my mind. I'm not stubborn or stuck in my ways. And if you give me something that is logical, where you're like, Jordan, you're clearly missing this part, I'll change. But follow my line of thinking and tell me where my logic is fractured at. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the perfect story of something that, like, that's why I'm saying, like, you really can't say who has to talk about something. But if anybody did have to talk about a story, this story and Tim Pool are the Reese's chocolate and peanut butter. It had to go together. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, so he doesn't for as long as he did. Jeremy kind of getting fed up, and this is where I could tell where I'm not going to say this is jealousy, but this passive aggressive little, other bigger conservative media sites aren't talking about it. Like, he was nudging at, like, Tim Pool, like, oh, aren't you talking about this? And the way he does it, honestly, I would not have done that. I would not have said, like, I can't explain it. I can't explain. Like, Jeremy gives that personality of a person where, like, say you got a really cool car, right? And, like, your group of friends, and, like, you just got this really cool car, and you're pulling up, and you're like, yeah, man, got this super cool car and stuff like that. Jeremy would be one of the people like, oh, yeah, man, I heard those things have a lot of issues with the respirator, carburetor. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a car man, if you could tell, but wants to bring up, like, yeah, man, I heard that year had a recall because the seatbelts don't go to the transmission, like, or some stuff like, and I'm just saying, I know seatbelts don't go to transmissions. I'm just being silly. But he just seems like one of those, got like a hater, for a lack of a better term. And it's okay. Like, I'm not trying to, I can't say it enough that, like, when I say these kind of things, it's partially to be humorous and it's partially to, like, offer legit criticism, but, like, I don't want that man to change for me. I'm a peon to him. He'll probably never even see this, but I say all that to say that that's how it was coming off at that time. So I was kind of like, okay, Tim, I'm sure just based off how his personality is not going to actually like this and stuff. But I never imagined that he would take that and say, well, I'm just not going to talk about it at all, because I felt like, remember, as much as somebody would, he had to. Well, boy, was I wrong. A week passed, 2 weeks passed, more and more stories are building up. More and more information is coming about Eliza Bleu being exposed as a model. Like, basically, the chances that she was ever human trafficked or anything like that are so minuscule now. She's like some meth head groupie for My Chemical Romance. And we come to find out she did this podcast where she talked about her ideal utopian society where all of the adults in a community get to choose when a specific child is old enough to engage in adult relation. Like, it was so much stuff that is like the floodgates had opened, and it was just like, this is stuff that we didn't even ask for. This is stuff that we didn't even expect to find. You are actually much weirder than we could have ever imagined. Why would you even put yourself in the light of the media if you had such a dirty background? And the truth of the matter is, some people at a certain stage of their life, or at any stage of their life, don't care, are very easy at, they're very good at being delusional, meaning they're very good at convincing themselves that what they're doing is righteous, or not caring about what's right, being blatantly ignorant to those things. I mean, look at OnlyFans models that are, you're an OnlyFans model, but then you're also a political activist. Like, you see what like, people are so self-righteous in this day and age that they could literally chill with the devil and still think that they're Jesus, is what I will say. Well, Eliza Bleu is one of those people. And if Tim had just addressed that and understood and said, I don't know what's going on with that, and just really washed his hands of it all, like, not claim or admit any part in it. I don't think anybody was trying to say that Tim originally was trying to say that Tim was in cahoots with her to do anything. But as the story progressed, it got weirder and weirder to the point where we had no choice but to just question what the heck was going on there. And then as the time goes on and we get to the point where more and more people are flipping in the comment section on Timcast, in his, comments on his Twitter, he starts to accuse them of being robots or sent there to cause drama, to build drama. There is the conspiracy floating around that this is something that is kind of like discussed or planned between the Quartering and Timcast in order to build engagement for both platforms. Once again, coming from the hip hop background, I know that happens all the time in hip hop. This doesn't read that way to me, but it could possibly be. And even if it didn't start initially like that, whenever there is the eureka moment or the understanding that, oh, we are gaining traction from this, it can quickly become that, or they can, of course, capitalize on that while they are pushing their regular narrative. So that very well could be happening, but it doesn't matter at this point. At this point, there is way too much craziness that is going on that we kind of have to break this all down and reset from the beginning, because the drama aspect of it is getting too convoluted, and people are coming into it from any perspective. Like, I see people every day who's like, oh, Tim, thank you for staying down, and not falling to the trolls and stuff. And I understand that if you think that this is all about just a bunch of people just commenting and trying to force Tim Pool to like acquiesce to their whims, I understand why you would say that. And I understand the people who are saying that Tim Pool is negative. He's working against all these people grifting, trying to steal and trick everybody. Because if you came at it from the angle of the Quartering and seeing all the blocking, the ignorance, and then him kind of like making fun of them and then talking about his fans like that, like, I understand how you could come at it from that angle. And if you've been watching the whole thing and you understand that there's like truth to both of this, and the real sad part about it is that a lot of people's understanding is not even coming from the full truth of the situation. A lot of it is getting lost in miscommunication and translation. That is just like, holy cow. So all I figured that I could do is create this video where I explain the full aspect of what I've captured. I'm not saying this is the objective truth. I'm not saying that my opinion is golden or that I'm smarter than anybody else or who's right or wrong here. This is just what I have observed. But one thing I can say in totality is that Tim treating his show, his guests, his chat in the way that he does rubs a lot of people the wrong way. I'm the type of person as to where I'm going to run my ship how I run my ship. If I see there's an adjustment that needs to be made, I'm going to humble myself, but I also don't blame leaders for moving with their gut, their intuition, because there's not a lot of people there to tell leaders how to be leaders. But there are a lot of people there to blame leaders for not being leaders or not being good enough of leaders. So I usually try to avoid that. I'm going to give Tim his leeway. I'm going to give Tim his credit. Tim's platform is important. The work that they do there is important. Hopefully, he can realize the error in his ways in this situation and move forward accordingly. But who knows? There's a lot of ego here. There's a lot of machismo. There's a lot of chest poking out here. And I get that. I understand it. I'm a man. I can't say that if somebody came at me a certain way that I would react, the way that I'm supposed to either. We all have pride. We all have all those things. But the sad part about all this is that this was supposed to be advocacy for human trafficking, like saving people who are human trafficked, and this is what it has turned into. While the victims, the real victims, go on silently, silenced. That's what I think about when I think about this story and how far it's gone. And the fact that, honestly, shame on people like Tim for forgetting about that at this level, because that's what it was all about. That's what it started. This was never about people. I'm sure there are people who jumped on the bandwagon and were looking for any chance to disparage Tim. But to make it seem like that's the primary body of the people who have complaints about this situation, it's incorrect. It's false. And if anybody wanted to talk to me about it, we can go hat for hat. We can go cat for cat. If you don't listen to Can, which I'm sure none of the people watching this video do. That was a reference to one of his songs. But that's where I'll end this. I've almost been talking for 30 minutes, and I really could talk about this some more. Probably will have to, so let me save my energy. And have a great day.